would you give your Bitcoin to the kidnapper to help save your mom? And then, oh my God, Alex, this is horrible. So the audience did the same. And then the comedian, he was very satisfied with this response, and he said, bravo, never give up on your Bitcoin.
Whenever there is some sort of government or group of idiots or whatever trying to like act as rulers,
Yeah,
they will always become dictators, and freedom becomes a criminal act.
yeah.
Like, and that's where we're sort of at now in the West, is like, unfortunately, what was the land of the free before? So, you know, your Americas, your Canadas, your Australias, your, you know, your Western Europes, they are becoming the most collectivist, lockdown, authoritarian places in the world. You know, Bitcoin is not just a, like, it's not just an investment thing. Yes, you know, it's the most important economic decision you'll ever make your entire life.
Hello everyone, my name is Diana and welcome to my channel. About 2.5 weeks ago, I went to Miami on the biggest Bitcoin conference in the world, and I met some really amazing people. My first interview today is going to be with Aleks Svetski, an entrepreneur from Australia who created Amber, an app that you could use to purchase and accumulate Bitcoin with. I really loved our conversation because some of his ideas are somewhat controversial. Hi everyone, I am sitting here with Aleks Svetski and I'm super happy that he has enough time to talk to me a little bit about his life in Australia, about Bitcoin, about cryptocurrency, about all the great things that he's doing. I follow you on LinkedIn, I read your articles on Medium, and I think everything that you're doing is great. And I was at the Bitcoin conference a few days ago, actually yesterday. Time flies fast, and
Yeah, right.
I love it.
Feels like I've been here for a month, and it's like a week only. I've
Yes.
lost track of time.
So you came to the US for the conference specifically?
Yeah, for the conference, and we're raising some money for the business at the moment. So
For your
we're,
business?
yeah, so there's a couple investors here that I want to meet, and I got to catch up with them, which was fantastic. So
Okay, that's awesome.
Stage 1 of the mission is completed.
That's awesome. Well, let's start at the beginning, because you have some Balkan roots. I just wanted to touch up on that.
Da, imam.
Da imaš. Do you speak a little bit of Macedonian?
Zborom makedonski, da. Malce.
Malku.
Malko.
I don't speak Makedonski, so I don't really...
Yeah, it's okay, you can understand.
Kind of
clearly.
the same, yeah.
Da, da, da.
Should we have the interview in Makedonski then?
No.
No.
No. Unless you want to hear like a 2-year-old speaking.
Yeah.
It's I didn't speak the language for many years, so like I had to teach myself again when I was 16. It's like I would have to practice again to like get used to it. So, yeah.
Okay. Where does the connection come from? Is it your parents?
Both my parents, yeah. So my dad left Macedonia in the 60s, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, in the 60s, went to Australia, and then my mum left in the 80s. So they met in Macedonia, but they came back to Australia, and then I was born in Australia in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm old.
Tell me, do you know anything about this part of the world in Macedonia? Have you been there?
It's a disaster.
It's a
It's a
what?
disaster. It's
Oh,
a disaster.
no.
So what I tell everyone is like, you know, when people attack capitalism, so capitalism is the process, so it's very poorly defined.
Yeah.
Capitalism is the process of taking time, energy, and scarce resources, mixing them together and producing something of greater value than what it was before, right? That is the core definition of capitalism. And if you can produce more value for another being, like for another human or for another entity, they will part ways with their capital for what you've produced of value. So,
Right.
and that, the capitalist process is inherent to human development, like innovation, human progress, civilizational progress is literally capitalism. It's
Right.
what we do. We human beings turn chaos into order. We produce things.
Right.
And, you know, all of this moronic ideas, you know, like collectivism and socialism, communism, all this garbage is about some group of people believing that they can know enough about everybody to direct, mandate, or dictate what everybody should have, and then to redistribute wealth how they see fit.
Right.
And that is such an idiotic idea. And the Balkans are a perfect
Yeah.
example of how it's all gone wrong.
And it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So I went back to Macedonia like for the first time in 2019, like for the first time since I was a baby. And the country is empty. Like
Yeah.
there is no soul in there left. Like all of the youth, anyone with a brain, anyone with passion or ambition or
Left.
drive is gone. All that's left there is old people, lazy people, and anybody who doesn't have any ambition for
It
life.
is so sad, actually, that it's that way.
Whenever there is some sort of government or group of idiots or whatever trying to like act as rulers,
Yeah.
they will always become dictators, and freedom becomes a criminal act.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where we're sort of at now in the West. Is like, unfortunately, what was the land of the free before? So you know, your Americas, your Canadas, your Australias, your Western Europes, they are becoming the most collectivist, lockdown, authoritarian places in the world. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the problem with a world in which you have rulers instead of rules. And this is why I'm such a Bitcoiner, is that Bitcoin is a network, is a system that operates on a set of rules that are voluntarily opted in by the individual. So I enforce the Bitcoin rules because I want to run the Bitcoin code when I run a node, or if I mine, or if I just choose to adopt Bitcoin as a currency. Anybody else who does the same thing, they do it of their own volition, but we achieve consensus, we achieve agreement
Yeah.
because we wanted to, not because we were, not because we're forced to. So that's so Bitcoin is a voluntary system. It's and so it's one of rules that are opted into by everyone voluntarily, not something that is Jesus Christ.
We're on South Beach. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of things happening behind us
Go
while we're
Miami.
having this conversation. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
America. I love America. So it's like it's just a really important thing. So Bitcoin is about the fight of moving the world towards rules, not rulers.
Yeah.
Because whenever you have rulers, they just do whatever they want for themselves, and it happens at the expense of everyone else. It's just what we get is these arbitrary rules that apply for one group but not to another.
Yeah. So before we start talking about Bitcoin and everything that you're doing in this area, tell me some more about your beginning. I know that you went to university where you didn't finish your studies, and you were kind of self-taught in finance, and you decided to jump on the stock market and invest. Tell me a little bit more about that. Why didn't you like the education that you received in the university?
I didn't mind the education I received in the university. It was that I was just surrounded by people who didn't care. Like, I'd ask them, like, why are you doing engineering? And they're like, I don't know.
They had
was
no
like-
drive and no
no ambition, no drive. It's like, they were only doing it because
the paper degree.
that's it. Yeah, exactly. And I just found that strange. Like, I thought, man, this is something you're gonna do for the rest of your life. Like, how could you not care what you're doing? And
Right.
and anyway, so I was more motivated. I started, like, I wanted to become a millionaire by the time I was 20.
Yeah.
And I took all my scholarship money and I taught myself to trade the markets, made a bunch of money, and then a week before I turned 20, I lost everything, and then I managed to find more and more debt. I
So-
managed to borrow money.
On
and
your-
and
sorry, go ahead.
And I dug myself like $250,000 into debt.
I read that on your LinkedIn profile, and I really literally got goosebumps because at that age, at 20, getting so deep in debt, this must be very scary. Must have been very scary for you.
It was a disaster. Yeah.
How did you do that? With options or
Options, warrants, all sorts of derivatives, margin lending. I borrowed, back then it was easy to get money to borrow. I was young and had a clean credit rating, so it was just complete stupidity.
how much money did you borrow?
I think overall 250,000. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I had to dig my way up.
Yeah, and how did you recover from that?
I went and knocked on doors selling pay television.
Pay television.
Yeah, it was a disaster. So I was young, I was introverted. I had no idea about sales, but I needed money, I needed to eat.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could get on short notice was selling pay television. And
Wow.
I lived on someone's lounge room floor, and basically my day consisted of waking up in the morning, training salespeople in the morning, knocking on doors all day and all night, come back, read about the stock market, read about economics, read about like how did I get it so wrong, while the other idiot roommates were like watching TV and like watching it was like I'd be trying to sleep then. It was a rough period, but like I dug myself out of the hole.
You didn't want to take any money from your parents and get them more in debt. You just wanted to be on your own.
I didn't really talk to my parents back then, so like I left home. It was a bit of a crazy period.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So what happened when you were like 23, 24? Did you start your own business back then, or what was your first job? I believe you had to work somewhere before you started your own business.
I mean, I guess you could call the door knocking a job, but
Yeah.
it wasn't really a job because it was a commission sales job. So it was like I had my own business and I contracted to them, and if I sold something, I got paid. If I didn't sell something, I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
So like I always say that I never had a job. So I built that sales company up, and then I built that guy's sales company up, but then I thought, I can do this myself. So then I set up my own sales company, and then people sold for me. And I sold still, but I hired people to sell for me. And that was my first business. So that was when I was 21.
Wow.
And then I had a business partner sort of take half the money and run away.
Oh, no.
And it wasn't half the money. It turned out to be more than half the money because we didn't calculate taxes or any of that sort of stuff. So I ended up having to pay for everything.
Oh, no.
So then I started again, built another company, and that was the renewable energies business.
Tell me more about that. This is a sector that I'm really, really interested in, and I admire people that are in that sector. It's hard, but it's so good for the environment as well, and it's...
Well, I used to think that, but now I think it's the worst thing for the environment, and the whole sector is a scam.
Really?
Yeah, like...
Why?
The most efficient way to get energy, and the cleanest way to get energy is to get it directly from fossil fuels. Going and digging up the ground for lithium, for battery technology, for all the shit that goes into solar, just so you can get a roundabout way to get energy. Like, the amount of resources that goes into building a solar panel and the batteries that are required to match the energy output of fossil fuels doesn't pay itself off for like 20 or 30 years. So you do all the damage to the environment up front.
And it doesn't pay off for a long time.
It doesn't pay off. It doesn't pay off. And in fact, most renewable energy products like windmills and solar and everything like that, they don't last 20, 30 years anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a redundant exercise. So it wastes more energy, it destroys the environment, particularly like the toxic damage that is done to like the people that have to mine the cobalt and the lithium and the rare earth metals and everything. Like China, it's very well known that China uses slavery for that stuff.
Yes.
So it's so much more worse. Like the whole renewable energy industry is a big scam, and it only exists because of government subsidies.
Right.
And government subsidies exist because they steal our money through taxation and support a bankrupt industry that actually wouldn't naturally work. If all of the money and taxes and effort and energy that's wasted in renewable energies went into creating more efficient ways to extract fossil fuels, we would be 1,000,000 times more energy efficient in the world. We would have better cars, more efficient cars. Like we would be using the fossil fuels 100 times better than we do now. But we've slowed that progress, and we've destroyed the planet in the process of screwing around with renewables.
What was your impact in this sector? Like, what kind of a company did you create?
We were installing solar panels for residential, so anything between 1 kilowatt up to 10 kilowatt panels.
Okay.
Sorry, 10 kilowatt systems, and we were trying to enable people to generate power in their house through solar panels. And I honestly believed the hype. I believed the marketing. I thought what we were doing was fantastic. But when I look back on that period of my life, like the only reason the business worked was because the government was throwing so many subsidies at it. But back then I didn't really understand, like, where do government subsidies come from?
After you stopped the renewable energy business, where did you head towards? Was that the moment where you went towards cryptocurrency?
No. I went vegan.
You went vegan?
I lost my mind.
You were all about sustainability, I guess.
Yeah.
Bio.
I was a complete hippie. I was a complete like maniac lefty, like hippie. Like we're all one. Like I went all spiritual and shit. And It was a strange period of my life. Like, you know, I was, you know, all into sort of meditations and stuff like that. Like, it was
I've done
crazy.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, we've all got to have our phase. Like,
Yeah.
I went really deep in that place. Like, I even wrote a book about being vegan and how you can, like, build muscle being vegan and everything. And by the end of the whole experience, I realized that being vegan is a big scam as well.
So you went vegan, you recovered from this decision, and then what happened?
I went back to Australia and I decided to start some other businesses. I got into hospitality for a while. Don't get into hospitality.
Oh my
The
gosh.
worst business in the world.
10 years from now, you're gonna be, forget about Bitcoin.
No.
Okay.
Bitcoin's the thing that I will live and die for. So I found the thing that I want. But I decided, like, because the thing is, I was in my 20s, I was discovering myself. Like, I was trying to
Yeah,
figure
of
out what I want
course.
in life. And, you know, I thought hospitality might be cool. Like, I was into health food and stuff. So I built a bunch of health food cafes. And that just, like, hospitality is hard because you're dealing with the public, you're dealing with the
Yes.
landlord, the food
Yes.
supplier. You know, people are hungry, they're angry, you got staff, you got, like, it's a mess.
Yes.
So you work your ass off for like a little bit of money at the end of the week. It's just not worth it. So I got out of that, and that's when I got into tech. Started building some apps, like I built a payroll automation app. Then I built a recruitment automation app, which used like personality profiling, psychology, and everything to match people to the right job. Built that company up, and it was only sort of towards the end of that where like I had a dispute with the board, so I stepped down from that company, and it was a really rough period of my life because, you know, I felt like the thing that I built got taken from me, blah blah blah. But the hidden thing that happened was I discovered Bitcoin, and as I started reading, like, all of my values and beliefs in life sort of aligned around this thing because, you know, I've always been, you know, relatively libertarian. I've always been, you know, a big believer about, you know, responsibility and producing like something
Right.
for yourself as an entrepreneur and all this sort of stuff. And like, you know, I knew that the system was rigged, you know, through the money printer and, you know, through the
Yes.
capacity of like the state to dictate what is lawful, what is not, regulations
Right.
and this and that. And, you know, and Bitcoin just sort of, as I started digging, I was like, holy shit, like this is a potential solution. And the more I went into it, the more I realized that, you know, Bitcoin is not just it's not just an investment thing. Yes, you know, it's the most important economic decision you'll ever make your entire life. In fact, it's the most asymmetric economic opportunity in the history of humanity. Like, there is nothing more important, like, from an economic standpoint than Bitcoin since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
So we're lucky enough to be born during that period. But more importantly, like, Bitcoin is moral. Like, buying Bitcoin makes each individual responsible for themselves and, you know, makes the individual sovereign. So, you know, when you own Bitcoin, you own your lifeblood, like your lifeblood being your money, your wealth, like your time and your energy. And you have the sovereign capacity to choose what to do with it. And you cannot be debased by somebody else. Like, somebody else cannot have an influence on your wealth. And that makes it so fundamentally important and powerful. And it makes it completely different to every other cryptocurrency. Like, all cryptos, all government money, all this other stuff is a big scam. It's like designed for somebody to
The
issue it.
altcoins.
All of them.
Yeah.
All the altcoins are, like, this is what an altcoin, or like more accurately described as a shitcoin.
Yeah.
This is what they do. They say, don't trust the government because they print their own money. Trust me.
Yeah.
I won't print the money, I promise. And so people who are buying shitcoins, what they're doing is they're jumping from the fry pan into the fire.
Yeah.
Like, they're going from bureaucrats in, you know, suits to bureaucrats that are nerds that are issuing their own money. It's the same thing. It is still fiat. It is still money issued by a group or an individual or organization. You're giving your sovereign right to somebody else.
Right.
Whereas Bitcoin's not issued by anything. It's a protocol that we run and that we enforce at the individual level.
Nobody owns it.
Nobody owns it.
It's fully
And nobody can own
decentralized.
it. And it's censorship resistant and it's enforced by the individual. Like, decentralized gets thrown around a lot,
Yeah.
but it's only decentralized because it can be verified and enforced by the individual. Like, they talk about Ethereum being decentralized, but it can't be validated and enforced by the individual. Like, I can't run an Ethereum node. I can't enforce the Ethereum rules. Therefore, I am irrelevant. The only people who can run an Ethereum node is the Ethereum organization, the foundation. So they own and run Ethereum, not me. So it's not a it's meaninglessly decentralized. Bitcoin is meaningfully decentralized. It's a huge difference.
Big difference. Do you believe Bitcoin will be the substitute of gold in the future?
Gold will be a industrial metal. Bitcoin will make gold an industrial metal. Gold is completely irrelevant. Like, I don't think people realize how big Bitcoin is going to be. Like, take everything in the world, all the gold, all the real estate, all the stocks, all the bonds, everything you own in your house, your furniture, your cars, everything that exists in the world, that will all be valued like in Bitcoin. By the time the Bitcoin issuance schedule is finished in 2140, one Bitcoin will probably buy you a country the size of probably Bulgaria, Greece, and Macedonia all together for one Bitcoin. You buy all of Miami for one Bitcoin.
What price prediction is that? I can't even
Probably-
comprehend the amount.
Probably tens of billions for one Bitcoin.
So, when is it scheduled? Like, when is the year that the last Bitcoin will be mined?
2140. It'll take 35 years roughly to mine the last Bitcoin.
2140.
Yeah.
So by then, you think that the amount is going to be like hundreds of millions or like tens of millions price tag?
Billions of
Oh,
dollars.
billions. You think
Billions
it's
of
going to be
dollars.
billions.
Yeah,
So
like in equivalent purchasing power today.
yeah, I was reading an article from you on Medium, and I think you were very emotional when you were writing that article because you were extremely
Always
bullish on Bitcoin. And the article name was "Don't buy Bitcoin now,
Don't buy Bitcoin. Yeah.
ever. Just don't touch it."
Yeah.
And you were talking a lot about equality and your vision on equality, how equality actually produces bad people and it feeds the worst on us, and inequality helps us grow and brings out the best from us. Tell me more about that.
The pursuit of equality is always the pursuit of the lowest common denominator, right? Because it's very difficult to, you can't forcefully raise people, but you can forcefully push them down to make them equal. And that's what the pursuit of equality does. Like, whenever I hear equality, all I hear is, okay, let's just bring everyone down so that everyone is broke, dumb, destitute, and useless. And that's what communism ends up doing, because what you get is, like, there's multiple factors at play, but let's say
Fear, lots of fear.
it's fear, but it's jealousy is what really starts. It's the cancer that happens inside equality. So if you're a hard worker and you produce better stuff to me because you're a more valuable worker, but we get paid equally, like, and I'm a lazy shit and I don't really produce anything, we get paid equally, how do you feel?
Yeah, well,
You don't feel respected, you don't feel like you got your worth. Like, so what you do naturally is you work less.
yeah.
You're like, well, why should I put so much passion and effort and energy in this when this head next to me is gonna get the same as what I'm getting?
Yeah.
So you lower your effort, and you do that. Then, this other person's like, well, shit, they got more my effort now, so now I can lower my effort further, and you get this downward spiral. So equality is like the worst thing. Now, inequality, you have two types, and this is something that nobody really discusses properly, and even like people that I really respect, like Jordan Peterson, for example, like he gets this completely wrong. Like, I want to slap him when I hear this. He says, oh, inequality is a real problem with capitalism because, people who earn more, they get more and they climb up and, they get so far ahead. That's fine. Because in nature,
Yeah.
you have natural power laws. Like, in
Yeah.
fact, everything in nature, like, when they teach you in statistics that they say, oh, everything's a bell curve. Not really. Bell curves are like sort of from random distributions. Everything in nature actually functions as a power curve, like, which means that the more you get, the more you get, right? So,
Yeah.
or like it's the 80-20 rule. So you look at an artist who's like let's say like a musician. 20% of their songs are what produce 80% of their income, right?
Yeah,
Like 20% of their
true.
albums produce 80% of their income.
True.
And even on the best albums, 20% of the songs, are the best. Like, 20% of basketball players are the best. 20% of trees are taller than the other 80% of trees. So
Right.
it's like everything in nature, everything in existence functions on these power laws. Now, the difference, like, so even humans, we are all like, power law distributed. So like when you're building wealth, like if you consistently make good decisions, you'll have more wealth with which to make more good decisions.
Right.
And what you do is you can compound your wealth, right? And you can get that sort of power law thing. So you can be in the 20% that has 80% of the resources. Now, this is where it gets important. There's a big difference between static inequality
Yeah.
and dynamic inequality. The world we live in today, the fiat world, gives us static inequality. If you're at the bottom, you can't rise. If you're at the top, you don't fall. And then the middle pays for everything, and it's a disaster. And then what happens? People get like on net balance, we get poorer and poorer and poorer.
Yeah, it is true.
What Bitcoin gives us is a world in which we get dynamic inequality, which is perfectly natural, because you get, instead of these fixed classes, you get like a playing field where the person who's broke or young or destitute or poor or whatever, or grew up in a poor family, they have the same capacity to build wealth with the same money that the richest of the rich have. And what you get is the ability for someone at the bottom to actually climb. They can save.
Right.
And at the top, if you were, let's say, one of the lucky pricks who are up there, like let's say you bought Bitcoin early, or you grew up in a rich family, or whatever the case is, if you make bad decisions, if you build a business and it goes bankrupt, or if you put all your money on hookers and coke, right? Like, whatever the case is,
Yeah.
you will fall down the ladder, and you cannot tax and you cannot print your way into staying there. So what you end up having is a system where you get dynamic inequality, where you can rise from the bottom and you can fall from the top, and it is only up to the individual to choose, where they want to be on the thing.
Right.
And
through their behavior.
Correct, through their behavior, what they do, how hard they work. Now, that doesn't mean that, the whole world is going to be perfect, and where you're going to be born is going to have opportunity and all that sort of stuff. That's going to take a long time to change. But we can't, unless we completely blow up the entire world and say, okay, now everyone can start from the same place. We're never going to get equality of opportunity in the distribution of resources. But we can get equality of opportunity in the resource via which we measure human action.
Right.
And that is money. That's the only inequality of opportunity. That's the only equality of opportunity we'll ever have. And as a result, the ramifications of that is dynamic inequality in existence. And that's perfectly normal. People will rise up and down the social ladder. Like, when you're young, of course you're going to have less money than someone who's old and who's made good decisions.
Of course.
But you have the opportunity when you're young to climb. And, if you're an idiot and you keep making bad decisions in your life, well, you're going to be broke. You'll be at the bottom of the social ladder because you're dumb. And, and what it does is it forces you to correct your behavior.
Yeah.
Whereas in the existing world, it doesn't force you to correct your behavior, because the government promises you handouts. So if you make a mistake, you just get given a free check.
Yeah, what is happening right now in the US, the government has printed so much money, and people, I know, personally, I know people that quit their job. That was their decision. They weren't laid off or fired. That was their decision. And they collect money from the government as a paycheck every single month. And they decide that, decided that they don't want to go back to work. It's convenient. And there's a lot of businesses in the US that are struggling to attract high quality workers, because they prefer to stay at home, because they collect bigger paycheck while they're at home rather than working for somebody.
This is how the US becomes Eastern Europe. This is how you tear the soul out of humanity. Is like, people find meaning in their vocation. And when you remove the requirement for somebody to, to strive for something, or, to have meaning in life, where you just give them handouts,
Yeah.
That's what you do to your dog.
Here,
That's it.
have a little bite.
So we're not fucking pets,
Yeah.
but that's how the government,
Yeah.
it's much easier to condition sheep and pets.
Yeah, it's
And,
true.
and that's sort of what these idiots believe is what a utopia should look like. So in these places, like, what people don't realize is savings is the cornerstone of all civilization. The capacity for an individual to trade their labor, the product of their labor, for wealth, and being able to store that wealth and be able to compound that gives them the capacity to rise from the bottom.
So at this moment, all of us, we're holding our Bitcoins, and we're hoping that in the future, the value is going to grow. It's going to appreciate more and more and more. So we don't really want to spend it. Somebody at the conference, I think it was this comedian, and he was talking to the Winklevoss brothers, and he said, here's an example. You have some of your family kidnapped, and the kidnapper is asking you for Bitcoin. Would you give your Bitcoin to the kidnapper to help save your mom? And then, oh my God, Alex, this is horrible. So the audience did the same. And then the comedian, he was very satisfied with this response, and he said, bravo, never give up on your Bitcoin, even if your mom is kidnapped. I'm like, oh my God, this is getting scary.
That's right. People try and separate the function of money between store of value, medium of exchange, and unit of account, and they assume that money can behave as each of these things individually, and that's not how it works. Like, money is either all of them or none of them.
Right.
So any object that we use as money, like you can use gold as a medium of exchange, a unit of account, or a store of value. Like, you can if you want to, but the question is, do you want to? Is it convenient to do so? So with Bitcoin, like, it is fundamentally the perfect store of value, and I don't say that with hyperbole. Like, it is perfect because I know exactly how much Bitcoin I have in relation to the entire network.
Yeah.
So that's the definition of a store of value, is that I know my proportion in relation to everything else. And I also know that nobody can change that proportion. So that means it's perfect as a store of value. It's
Yeah.
not, the store of value is not it maintaining its purchasing power. That's important, but that's actually a side effect of the fact that my proportion is a fixed amount of the total proportion. So that's step one. Bitcoin is also a perfect medium of exchange. A medium of exchange is defined as something where I have the ability to give it to you, and nobody can censor that, nobody can stop that. Bitcoin is perfect. I can send you Bitcoin.
Nobody can stop that. That's true, actually.
No one can?
Because the banks can stop your transaction. They can shut down your account.
So
but
fiat is
nobody-
actually a worse medium of exchange than Bitcoin is.
There is a lot of control. But you can lose your Bitcoin, which had happened to so many people, forgetting
You
their
don't
passwords.
lose your Bitcoin, you lose your private key.
Private key.
But that's a risk with any bearer instrument. Like, if you
Yeah.
had a big chunk of gold, and like my security model for my gold was like I put it in this incredible vault that nobody can open. But then I put the key on my bedside table and
Yeah.
wrote on the key, "My gold vault." So that's how people try and secure their Bitcoin. Like, they you can't take the Bitcoin out, but the Bitcoin key, where you put that, like I know so many people, like they have their private key in their bloody sock drawer.
No, this is not very smart.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, how do you protect your Bitcoin? Do you have a
I
hardware
split it-
wallet,
Yeah,
cold
I
wallet?
split it up. I split up. It's not so much the wallet, because I never touch my Bitcoin, so I don't care about having a wallet. Like, I have the public key addresses, which are derived from a multi-sig schema.
Okay.
So I have I use multiple wallets to produce a multi-signature address, and then I put my Bitcoin on the multi-signature address, and then I put the wallets in different parts of the world, so not even I can get to my Bitcoin. So because Bitcoin doesn't care about who you are, where you are, what you
Right.
are, you can derive addresses that require multiple signatures from different wallets.
Okay.
But I never carry both wallets with me, or I never
Okay.
carry the series of all the wallets with me. So for me to access my Bitcoin, I would have to fly to multiple countries, get all my wallets, so that I can sign a transaction to move the Bitcoin out.
Wow.
So, like, it's impossible to get to my Bitcoin, basically.
That is a very high level of security. So you have
It
to
is.
fly to Japan or Africa if
All
you
over
want
the
to.
place, exactly. So,
Wow.
like, God couldn't take my Bitcoin.
I have never
So
heard of that.
the more, the more you get into it, the more you realize that Bitcoin transforms money into information again. Like, it's an
Yeah.
energy. And what that means is, like, you can actually have full sovereign control of your money, and you can't do that with anything else.
Right.
Like, I can't multi-signature my gold and store it somewhere.
No.
So, like,
That is
when you
totally-
think, exactly, so when people try and compare gold with Bitcoin, I'm like, it's like, it's a rock. Like,
Yeah.
money is energy, and like gold was a good representation of human energy, of human action for a long time, but Bitcoin is like so superior. Like, it's not even in the same universe as gold. Like, it doesn't even matter. But I just want to finish a previous thing about, like, when will Bitcoin be used as something to be able to be spent? It can be today. Like, you as an individual can do whatever you want with your Bitcoin. You can save it, and that's a use. Like, saving Bitcoin is using Bitcoin. You can spend it, you can buy drugs, you can buy a car, you can buy a house, you can do whatever you want. You can use it as a unit of account. In fact, I use it as a unit of account. So when I think about buying anything in the world, like, I buy, like, a hotel room. I don't look at the dollar price. I actually think about what the Satoshi price is. And I'm like, fuck, that's expensive. Shit, I don't want to spend that many sats on this. So it's like, it makes me be much more frugal in the way I spend as well.
What percentage of your income goes towards Bitcoin?
As much as possible. Like, so
Is it close to 90%?
Well, no, I mean, I don't earn that much, so like, because I run a startup, so I live on a shoestring budget, but as much
That's
as
awesome.
humanly possible every week. So like, I live very frugally. I
Uh-huh.
live very simply. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. I don't take drugs. I don't go out. I don't do any of that sort of stuff.
You don't live in a
So,
huge house?
No, I live like a bum, and like
Really?
I live in a cardboard box in the corner over
No.
there. And
Which city do you live in Australia?
I mean Brisbane when I did live
Brisbane?
there, yeah, but
Okay.
I sort of haven't been there for a while. So
Okay.
like I live around, and I try and live in
That's
like
great.
more cost-effective cities.
That's great.
And yeah, and then there's like I have my expenses during the week, and then everything else that I have left, I just dump it into Bitcoin. We
Smart.
are here to starve the beast, and the beast is the government and the state and the central banks. You buy Bitcoin, you exit out of the system, and they starve.
So tell me more about your company, Amber. You created a company that you could purchase Bitcoin with, dollar cost average. Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I view Bitcoin as something that everybody should collect. So like if you think about, a good analogy is, imagine going back 5,000 years when everyone was still using salt and seashells and stuff like that as money, right? Before they
Right.
had gold. And imagine if you were the first person to find like a big rock of gold. And then you went to buy a chicken. And you're like, can I buy a chicken with this thing? And the guy's like, what the hell is that?
What is this?
And you're like, it's gold, it's the future of money. And he's like, can I eat it? No. Can I drink it? No. Can I wear it? No. It's like, well, piss off and give me salt or give me seashells. So your gold couldn't buy you anything.
Right.
But if you could somehow know the future and you could hold that big rock of gold, in a couple thousand years, you would buy an entire kingdom. That's where we are with Bitcoin today. We're very early, so you walk around, you're like, Bitcoin, and people are like, oh, what can I do with this thing? Because people don't even understand money; they're not going to understand Bitcoin. So, what you want to do is you want to collect Bitcoin in the same way as if you could live 5,000 years, and if you could just collect gold, just collect it. Don't worry
Right.
about the price up, down, and around in circles. Who cares? Like you just collect it, and that's what you want to do with Bitcoin every single week, every single day, every single period
Just
that you
dollar
can.
cost average.
Just collect.
A
Collect
little
Bitcoin.
bit, the little pieces
Correct.
of it.
Who cares what the price is? Just collect it and put it away. Opt yourself out of the system. And that's what the app is designed to do. So it automates that process for you. You download the app, you link your bank account or a debit card or a credit card or whatever. You can also fund it just by sending money to the Amber app. And then you just set up an automation to accumulate Bitcoin for you. So the way we differentiate ourselves is we're not a trading app, we're an
Right.
accumulation app.
Okay.
Because the goal is to accumulate Bitcoin.
So you can't really purchase any other coins, I guess not. Since you talked about the shit coins that you're so much against.
Our mission is to enable people to become sovereign and to build long-term wealth. Like all the other exchanges, their mission is to enable trading, which is another word for gambling. So they want
Right.
you to gamble. That's what they want you to do because that's how they make money.
That's how you lose money too.
Yeah, correct. Like I actually give a shit about the world and the customers, and I want them to build long-term wealth. I don't want them to gamble away like some degenerate in front of a computer, playing with charts and everything like that. It's like, go do something useful with your life. Like all these people who are trading and screwing around on this thing, like their life consists of two things: watching porn and watching charts. When you look at the other ramifications that fiat money has on society, is it decays the moral compass of society. Like you lose morality, and what people do is instead of pursuing something meaningful, they waste time and energy and effort on meaningless tasks.
But thinking about the price prediction, how much do you think Bitcoin will be worth by the end of this year? I know probably this is a very tough question. Nobody knows, but what do you think?
I personally couldn't care less. I actually have no idea what the price of Bitcoin is right now. I deleted all my pricing apps. Maybe 100, maybe 200. I don't know. Like it'll most probably be up. Like I think
100,000?
yeah.
You
most
think?
probably. Yeah, most probably. I think it'll be greater than that. Like if I had to take a guess, so I can't guess the price, but what I can guess is the behavior of what's going to happen. For the next series of months, we're going to go sideways and do nothing. Like up for a bit, down for a bit, up for a bit, until all the shitcoiners and all the losers and all the gamblers get bored, and then they go back to trading penny stocks
Right.
and trying to gamble somewhere else. Once all of that crap is washed out, then we'll start to see Bitcoin rise again. And when Bitcoin breaks the previous high, then we're going to see another run, and then it'll probably blow through 100, 150, 200. and then we'll see a proper run. But like until then, it's just going to be sideways noise.
And what is the biggest drive for Bitcoin to grow in value? Is it the people? Is it the institutions? Is it the banks pushing it?
No, it's just money coming in. So more money chasing less Bitcoin. That's it. So like when you have more people buying Bitcoin and removing it from an exchange and putting it into cold storage, like for example, my brother was like, "Oh man, the price of Bitcoin is going to come down. You should sell some." I said, first of all, no. Second of all, third of all, I said even if I wanted to, not even God can get to my Bitcoin. Like I can't get it out. I can't put it on an exchange. So there's tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people that are maniacs like me, who are in Bitcoin for the moral case, not just for the economic case.
Right.
Who we remove our Bitcoin from any exchange. So there's no Bitcoin available. So
Right.
like there's more money chasing less Bitcoin. What's going to happen? The bid to ask ratio moves, and the price like Bitcoin's inelastic. So like people haven't seen how quickly this is going to rise in price. Like wait till we get to 1 Satoshi being worth 1 cent. So that's when Bitcoin's $1 million. Watch what's going to happen. We're going to move from charting Bitcoin to charting Satoshis. And what happens when 1 Satoshi goes from 1 cent to 2 cents? That doesn't sound like a big move. It's like, oh yeah, 1 cent to 2 cents.
2 million.
Bitcoin just moved $1 million, and that'll happen in a day.
Yeah. Wow.
So we have not seen Bitcoin movement yet.
It is not too late to start purchasing Bitcoin.
No way. No way. It's never too late.
Can you use Amber, your app in the US?
Not yet. Next month.
Next month? Are you working on that? So are you planning on expanding in other countries as well?
Yep. So we'll go Europe next month. US next month. Then after that, we will be probably UK and like the EU region. So that probably will include Bulgaria.
Bulgaria, please do.
But not Macedonia, unfortunately.
Macedonia. Come on, remember your roots.
I know, right? I'm going to have to go in there and like slap some central bankers in the face and say, look, we need an account here. As long as we have a bank account, we can actually provide the service. So potentially, like the plan is to get it spread across as many jurisdictions as possible.
As far as I remember from what I read a few days ago, there's about 20% of institutional money in Bitcoin and 80% is held by retail investors.
Probably.
Do you think that's going to change in the future? There's going to be more and more institutions buying Bitcoin? Or
It depends on those retail people whether they want to sell it. Like, because already 85% of the Bitcoin has been mined.
85, yeah.
Yeah, so like by the end of this year, 90% of the Bitcoin that will ever exist will have been issued by the network. And if that ratio holds of retail 80 to 20, the institutions won't be able to get their hands on it.
Right.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Alex, there are so many apps out there on the market. There's Coinbase, there's Robinhood, there's PayPal, there's the Cash App. How does the average person purchase Bitcoin? There's so many options.
Yeah. First of all, find a Bitcoin-only company because they will allow you to generally withdraw the Bitcoin out to your own wallet. So that's most important. Like Robinhood, for example, you're not buying Bitcoin, you're buying an IOU for Bitcoin, right?
Which means
so it's
like a contract that you will...
Like it's like a derivative or a synthetic that represents the price of Bitcoin, but you can't withdraw it. So it's like you're not actually buying Bitcoin. So it's like it's kind of like a redundant exercise. Like the whole point of Bitcoin is to buy superior money and then own the superior money. Right. So like in America, like Cash App is one option, Swan Bitcoin is another option. And then obviously we're coming here with Amber, which will allow you to auto-accumulate Bitcoin, but then also withdraw it to your own wallet. That's the key thing. Like Coinbase and all that, they do allow you to do that, but they're shitcoin casinos. Like, so again, like the ethos of a Coinbase is for you to go and trade and gamble between all these stupid coins. And they promote all the other coins because they're lower in price. So people get conned into believing that, oh, maybe this will be worth what Bitcoin is worth one day. And they go, instead of buying superior money, they buy a shitcoin, which is making some other idiot rich, some other wannabe dictator. Right. So it's like, support Bitcoin-only companies, buy on their platform, you're going to get the best price, you're going to be able to withdraw, and you're going to be able to be a sovereign individual who owns their own Bitcoin.
I purchased Bitcoin about 6 years ago.
Bravo.
From a company, blockchain.com.
Blockchain.info, I think it was,
info.
yeah, back then, yeah.
I am so upset at myself because I did an interview with a few miners in Bulgaria, and they were smart enough to know about the future of Bitcoin, and they told me, Diana, you have to buy, this is the future. So there was an ATM machine in Bulgaria back then. Like, that was 7-8 years ago. Yeah. And nobody knew about Bitcoin. Nobody had a clue what it is. So I was in some forums and group chats I was actually checking up Silk Road, and it was pretty fascinating to me. So I found like 5 or 6 miners and somebody from a company that is like a trading company. They were such a big believers in that, and they said, buy Bitcoin. So I bought a little bit, not enough, unfortunately. But that was the trading platform that I used, blockchain.info.
Back in the day, they're a bunch of scammers too. Like, I mean, I shouldn't call them scammers because they're not scamming, but they're a bunch of idiots who have lost touch with the original Bitcoin ethos. Like they wanted to, like they did all these sort of campaigns to try and transform Bitcoin into something that they can dictate what it is. Like so I don't like that company. I don't recommend anyone use that company. I think like. I know it's biased, but like we built a Bitcoin-only company for you to accumulate Bitcoin and withdraw it. So like Amber is one, but there is other options like Cash App, Swan Bitcoin, River Financial. Like they're all good companies where you can buy and accumulate Bitcoin, and know that like you're supporting a good team, and you're supporting a company that's doing it for not, I mean yes we make money as a business, but like we want you to become sovereign, not for you to trade or gamble or for us to become your new
overlords. And it's much easier just to buy Bitcoin and hold it rather than jump on different apps and trade. And
it's ridiculous. At some point, like in the beginning, I shitcoined. I was an idiot. Like I was trying to figure this whole thing out, and I had like 15 exchange accounts. I had all these dumb coins that I didn't know why I was buying them, but I thought, oh, maybe they're gonna pump. It was a mess. It was a mess. Like my life is so much better now that I just buy Bitcoin on a regular basis. And I go and build a business, I write articles, I go to things, I talk, like, I add value to society now.
Yes.
And it gives me meaning in life versus the degenerate trader who sits there watching porn and watching charts, doing nothing with his life.
It's pretty selfish, if you look at it. It's very selfish.
It's not even selfish, it's pathetic.
Yeah,
it's
true. Alex, thank you so much. It's been an hour almost, I think, so thank you. I really appreciate it. I wish you best of luck with Amber. Hopefully one day we're going to see it in the US very soon, next month, you said.
1 month.
In the UK next, then all over Europe.
In Bulgaria.
Bulgaria, maybe Macedonia, but we're not sure about that.
See.
So thank you, I appreciate it, and good luck with everything.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you.